Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
Big crowd, great weather. What else could you want? It's spring training 2016. The Cardinals come your way next. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Spring training 2016. This afternoon from Roger Dean Stadium, it's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Miami Marlins on Fox Sports Midwest. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. I'm Dan McLaughlin. This is the Cardinals Hall of Famer, Jim Edmonds. We're excited to add him to our broadcast this year. I know you're excited, too.
I am excited. This is a great place to start, and I'm really looking forward to what's going on down here in Jupiter.
And one of the big storylines here today is the fact that Yadier Molina is in the lineup. So the question would be, with the sore hand, how are the Cardinals going to use him?
I think don't look for much out of Yadi today, but he is bringing a humongous boost to this team today. Just his presence on the field is going to be enough to get him through the first day and see where he's at physically as well as mentally and going forward.
So he'll be behind the plate today. Defensively for the Cardinals, he will not hit. He'll be catching Mike Leake. He'll make his spring training debut with St. Louis. It's the Cardinals, it's the Marlins. It's next on Fox Sports Midwest. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser and by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. It's a beautiful afternoon for baseball here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Along with Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Glad to have you with us here on Fox Sports Midwest. Big crowd. It's a home game for the Cardinals as they share this facility with the Miami Marlins. Let's take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup here today. And he's got a very good one at the top. And that is D. Gordon. Then Marcell Ozuna. As you get a look at Barry Bonds, the new hitting coach, we'll see Dietrich, Bohr, Johnson, Real Muto, Gillespie, Echeverria, and Kelly will be the DH. And on the mound for St. Louis, making his spring training debut, fresh off a $80 million deal with the Cardinals, is Mike Leake. And I know, Jimmy, you were a teammate of Mike's back in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like what he brings. This is another guy you bring into this ball club that is an innings guy. He's going to go out there and he's going to give you innings, and he's going to keep your team in the game. Stuff's not really overpowering, but he's an awesome teammate. He keeps the ball down, and I look to see a lot of good things out of this guy this year.
So Mike Leake gets the call today. Not a big guy, 5'10", 190. He split time with Cincinnati and San Francisco last year. He was traded at the deadline, made 9 starts for the Giants, and 21 with the Cincinnati Reds. Let's go around the horn, and it's presented by Dobbs, and Matt Holliday gets his second start at first base for the Cardinals here today. The Cardinals, with many regulars in there, will start in left field. That's Garcia, Grichuk in center, Pham is in right, Carpenter, Jerko, Wong, and Holliday along the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. That's presented by Dobbs. So leading things off, it'll be D. Gordon, coming off a career year. 205 hits, a .333 average, and 58 steals. The last man to lead in those 3 categories, and this is how exclusive it is, Jackie Robinson did that back in 1949. Great speed, and one of the top leadoff men in the game today. So with that, Carpenter is in at third base. And quickly, it's no balls and 2 strikes. You gotta love the pace that Mike Leake throws too.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you love to be behind in the outfield, defensively especially, just because he's moving the game along quickly.
Just missed on the inside corner. Good to see Yadi back in there today, and those two will see each other for about 2 innings here this afternoon, depending on what the Cardinals do offensively and getting Molina through the lineup. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Is there anybody better in the game than that man right there, Yadier Molina?
He does such a great job. I mean, he's been doing it for so long.
And he frames that pitch on the inside corner, right on cue.
Yeah, and the thing about him is he's so good at just getting his body in position and catching the ball correctly. You see so many young players these days just taking it for granted. I mean, right there, he doesn't even get the pitch that he's looking for, and he still catches the ball very firm. Doesn't take the glove out of the zone and gets strike 3.
And it brings in Marcell Ozuna. Interesting year a season ago for Ozuna. Young center fielder, and hits that out of play. He was actually sent to the minor leagues at one point for 33 games. And the year before, he had 23 home runs and 85 RBIs. A lot of talk that he would be shipped this offseason. That did not happen. And they pencil him in at center field.
Sometimes as a young player, you just need a wake-up call. I mean, it really, it's embarrassing. You get sent down, but you take a look at yourself in the mirror and
popped up. Shallow center. Wind is blowing all over the place, and there's Randall Grichuk. He makes the catch. Beautiful but windy here at Roger Dean Stadium. You see the temperature 75 degrees, but the wind about 16 miles an hour.
Always windy here, by the way, especially early in spring. It's one of the toughest things for defense during this time of the year is the wind is consistently blowing in your face, blowing at your back if you're on defense. It really does. It makes it for like a little bit of a scary situation out there.
Flags at half staff to the death of Nancy Reagan. A strike to Dietrich. And an 0-1 pitch. I know you worked a lot with Randall Grichuk a couple weeks ago, and when you think about trying to get acclimated to center field, that's one thing, and then to do it in a windy ballpark, that's another. It's tough to do. There's a ground ball to the right side. A little tricky hop at the end there for Colton Wong, and a good start for Mike Leake. Miami goes 1-2-3, and the Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Stadium, no score between the Marlins and the Cardinals. As we get a look at Mike Matheny's lineup today, Colton Wong will bat leadoff, followed by Matt Carpenter and then Matt Holliday. Randall Grichuk will bat cleanup. Then we have Moss, Jerko, Pham, Garcia, and Yadier Molina. Adam Conley gets the call today for the Marlins. He was 4-1 last season. He's got a fastball in the mid-90s. And they expect him to be a part of their 5-man rotation. First pitch taken for a strike by Colton Wong. A lot of talk about who should be the leadoff man with the Cardinals. Would it be Colton Wong or Matt Carpenter? Carpenter's numbers dip significantly when he's not in that leadoff spot. Makes you wonder where the direction would go.
That is a crazy stat. I mean, you think you're a hitter, you're up there just doing your job, but there's always a situation where you just are more comfortable in one spot versus the other, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. Just the good thing about both these guys can do it, and that's what you want to have as a manager.
1-2 pitch and a ground ball that's chopped to short. One of the best in the business, Echeverria. And there's one away. Let's take a look at Miami's defense, presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Chris Johnson in left, Marcelo Ozuna in center. Cole Gillespie is your right fielder. Derek Dietrich at third. Echeverria and Gordon up the middle. Justin Bohr is your first baseman, and JT Realmuto is behind the plate. That's presented by Dobbs, and here is Matt Carpenter. You get a look at Don Mattingly. Comes from Los Angeles, and now first year with the Marlins. Did you ever imagine that Matt Carpenter would turn into this kind of player? He's one of the best in the business.
You know what? It's crazy to think that, and then it's also, in another way, awesome to just watch him develop. He's just so calm at the plate. And you know, sky's the limit when you can be that under control. You turn into a home run hitter sometimes, and you get a little out of control at the plate. You want to hit the ball too hard, and that just, you don't see the ball as well.
28 home runs for Matt Carpenter last year. Majority of those coming from the leadoff spot in the lineup for the Cardinals. We had 22 hitting at the top of the order. 3-1. And here's the other thing that he does so well. So many times it's 3 balls and a strike, 3-2, whatever the case may be.
And that is all about being under control at the plate. It really, if you see him, obviously, everyone's watching him for years. Not a lot of movement, and has a good idea for the strike zone.
3-2. Carpenter hit first or second in 149 of his 154 games that he played in a year ago. When he was number 1, his average was 312. Number 2, it was 225.
It's amazing.
3-2 pitch, grounded to D. Gordon, and the Gold Glover makes the play. A look at our Toyota keys to the game. It's pretty simple. Leake's Cardinal debut. It's gotten off to a good start with a 1-2-3 top of the first. And then Yadier Molina behind the plate. That's our Toyota keys to the game as Yadi is making his spring training debut here this afternoon. Matt Holliday has himself in tremendous condition. Final year of his deal. Cardinals do hold an option on that, and he's at first base today. You mentioned it in the open, Jim, just having Yadi out there and what it means to the team.
Oh, it's just being comfortable, having your stars back in the lineup, knowing that he's healthy. I mean, he's not doing a whole lot today, obviously. He's going to get out there. It's good for him to see live pitching. It's good for him to catch Mike Leake. But just him in the dugout being where he's supposed to be.
1-1 is popped foul. And Holliday, you can tell his reaction. He wanted that one back.
Yeah, you want to take advantage of every good fastball you get in spring training because you might not get a whole lot of them. Especially, you don't see these guys very often. You never know who's going to be out there the next inning. In your next at bat, you could be facing someone you've never seen or will never see again.
1-2 the count with 2 outs and nobody on. How did you approach it if you're a veteran? You know, you're at bats in games, especially early in spring.
Yeah, you just try to see the ball. You really do. You try to get the game speeds. And you just try to put the bat on the ball. I mean, I think that Matt Carpenter's at bat was a perfect. When I was coming up through this system, they said that was your perfect at bat in spring training. You take a few pitches, you see everything, you hit a ground ball to second base, a hard ground ball to second base, and you go sit down.
3-2. And he wants that one back, too. Shaking his head a little bit.
As you get older, the less and less you want to run the bases in spring training. So they would always say, hit a hard ground ball to second, square it up, and go sit down and wait for defense.
Less and less you want to play, period.
Yeah.
3-2 is hit out of play. Your experience, did you find pitchers or pitchers or hitters ahead early in spring training?
You know, I think everyone's different. I think that the one good thing about spring training for a hitter is a lot of the guys back in the day would just kind of work on their fastball and getting their arms in shape.
Good at bat there by Holiday, draws a 2-out walk.
But now guys are coming into shape more ready with all their pitches kind of under their belt. And I don't see a lot of holding. You see pitch counts, but you don't see a lot of guys. Like I remember the veterans going out there and saying, hey, I'm just going to throw fastball changeup today for 2 innings. And then the next start, they'll work in another pitch. And then the next day, they'll start working. You know, by the 3rd or 4th outing, you'll see everything. But as a hitter, and you know that, I mean, it really makes it a lot easier for you for the first week.
Here's Randall Grichuk. Check swing and fouled back. Potential with Grichuk is unlimited.
It is, and I like where his head's at. You know, he really wants to get better, and it's something we've been talking about, just staying focused and kind of just changing your thought process to an everyday player and learning the game and not just going out there and doing it all on ability.
Jammed a bit and pops it up. D. Gordon calling for it. Cardinals will strand a man. That's Holiday after his walk. 1 inning in the books. Spring training baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Second inning of work for Mike Leake. And he'll get Justin Bohr, Johnson, and Real Muto for the Miami Marlins. Marlins went 1-2-3 in the top of the first. The shift is on. First pitch by Leake. Interesting, Ozzie Smith was here at camp about 2 weeks ago, and he said he's not a big fan of the shifts. You were a great defensive player. In general, did you like them or did they bother you? There's a ground ball, and from the outfield grass, Wong cannot come up with it, and it's an error on Colton Wong.
I get the feedback from the pitchers, and a lot of time the pitcher makes a great pitch. It works here, obviously. Colton just doesn't make the play, but the pitchers sometimes don't like it because they feel, I think that they feel that they can only pitch in a certain spot. Now, if he wants to throw a sinker away and the guy is a little late on it, he got velocities, hits the ball the other way, there's a big part of the field wide open. But you know, I like the percentages, I like to play it. It's really 50-50 with me. It depends on the pitcher for me.
You got to have control, like you said. You've got to hit your spots so that the hitter's going to hit it to the direction that you're wanting.
I would really be curious to talk to pitchers this day and age to see what they think, because I've heard a lot. You know, Chris Carpenter was very vocal, but that was only when it didn't work.
Right.
I mean, obviously I was vocal. I mean, I didn't want to see him get through. So
There's a base hit by Chris Johnson to right. First two have reached, and it brings in Real Muto. Yeah, I remember the reactions last year of John Lackey. If there was a shift and he gave up a base hit, you better get out of his way. Not happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to throw the ball where you want to throw it every time. I mean, these guys are in the big leagues and they get paid for that, but occasionally you're going to make a mistake, and occasionally a hitter's going to be looking for something and get beat, and it's not going to be a perfect scenario, so the ball is going to go somewhere else, and that's just part of the game. But that's something I might try and do this year, is really see what the pitchers think about it.
Here's JT Real Muto. And a strike. He burst on the scene last year after Miami designated Jared Saltalamacchia for assignment. And this young man set several single-season club records for a rookie catcher. Games, hit .259. Very good athlete. 0-1 pitch by Leake. Get the feeling that Mike Leake, pitching in St. Louis, instead of pitching in Cincinnati in that ballpark that sees its fair share of home runs, is going to have a better year.
I would think. I think St. Louis is a big ballpark. I think that the home runs are down there for our guys, and I think he's gonna really benefit from just bigger ballpark, a little bit slower grass, and just a better, just an overall better team. I think people come here and thrive because of this organization and what they stand for. And who knows why it happens, but it happens, and we've seen it for years. So hopefully he'll be one of those guys that benefit from it.
1-2 pitch is swung on and missed. Strikeout number 2 for Mike Leake.
Right there, just perfect pitch. Looks like a cutter, slider, hits Yachty's glove perfectly. I mean, you just see he's just working around the zone. It's not missing too badly. It's early in spring, so that's a good sign.
Here's Gillespie, the right fielder today for the Marlins. Runners at first and second. We're scoreless here in the second inning. A beautiful day from Roger Dean Stadium. He's dropped in a couple of nice breaking balls.
Good early in the count. Get me over breaking balls. That's the one thing about a hitter. When you're worried about the sinker, it just takes so much out of you when off speed comes, because you're so geared up to get out in front of a fastball that he's going to throw the ball inside eventually and it's going to sink in. So it makes it tough as a hitter.
Hits his spot again, but does not get the call.
When you're watching a game from a distance, you're watching at home, and you can see guys just like that take that check swing on a pitch that's close but not close, and it's kind of a slider off the plate. He's thinking about getting a fastball inside that's going to be running in on his hands.
So he didn't get the call, but they appealed and they get the strike, so 0-2. Now time is called. The Cardinal Hall of Famer making his debut in the booth with us today. That's Jim Edmonds. Dan McLaughlin with you. Next by Leake is fouled back.
See what that sinker does right there. That ball's not really that great of a pitch, not a bad pitch, but that ball's diving out of the zone. There's really not much you can do with it.
0-2. Misses outside, tried to get him to chase. Mike Leake made the jump from college straight to the big leagues. Did that in 2009 out of Arizona State. The last to do that was Xavier Nady. Power hitter, did that in 2000. Boy, Yachty's so quiet back there, isn't he?
It's so fun to watch. I mean, it's a different angle for me back here. Being behind him, you don't get as good of a view, but I'm telling you, it's something you appreciate when you get out of the game, is just being able to watch it from an angle of the outfield.
2-2. Leake got a piece of it. It's into center field. Throw by Grichuk to the plate is in time and gone. The tag by Molina. What a throw by Grichuk.
I don't think Randall expected to throw him out right there, and he didn't get around third base that well, and just made a great throw, nice and easy. One hop to the plate, and Yachty did a great job on the tag.
Justin Bour lumbering from second base. I don't know about you, I get a little concerned when I see that glove of Yadier Molina putting down that tag.
You can see just a nice smooth throw. Yeah, look at his leg came up over the plate. Yachty with a great tag.
That's how Yachty got hurt in Chicago.
So got a thumb brace on today. You can see he's got something on there to keep his thumb from.
A high fly ball. Grichuk was spun around, plenty of room, and he makes the catch. As long as he's okay, we'll take it. The tag by Yadier Molina on a strong throw from Randall Grichuk keeps the Marlins off the board, and there's no score. We're on Fox Sports Midwest. There's no score. Randall Grichuk, strong throw to the plate. Jimmy, tell us what he's doing here as the pitch is coming.
Well, you can see that just on this ball, you're kind of blinded right here, so you don't really know where the ball is. But he does a great job of actually charging the ball hard, getting the ball clean and throwing it in. I don't think he really expected to throw him out the plate. But when you're in that situation, you have to throw the ball firm to the area that you're supposed to throw it and let the infielder decide.
Here's Brandon Moss. Another shift for Miami, this time on Moss.
And I mean by the infielder deciding, that means Yachty and the first baseman or whoever the cutoff man is decide if the ball should come through or not.
Two balls and one strike on Brandon Moss. It's Moss and Adams in that first base conversation, along now with Matt Holliday. So three choices.
Yeah, it's went from everybody thinking a one-man show to three guys ready to go.
Broken bat. This will be a tough play. And they can't make the play. Moss, an infield hit. And the Cardinals have their first hit this afternoon. Let's go back to Yachty's positioning as well.
Yeah, Yachty does a great job right here. I mean, he's out in front of the plate. He sees what's going on. He wants the ball to come to the plate. You're always trying to cut that run off when you're on defense. And he just says, swipe tag quick, get in and get out. Gives him the plate, lets him slide in. Really just kind of, as a runner, and you see the plate wide open, you're kind of taking a little bit of you're backing off a little bit because you think, oh, I got this easy. And then swipe the tag down and you're going back to the dugout.
Here's Jed Jerko. Cardinals with the huge loss of Johnny Peralta, we found out the other day, with a thumb injury very similar to Yadier Molina's thumb injury. So he's going to miss 2, maybe 3 months. You're going to see a lot of Jed Jerko here in spring, along with Aledmys Diaz. And Diaz made a statement yesterday going 4 for 4.
Never know when it's your turn.
Right.
That's what's amazing is you get out here and if you're a backup, you're coming off the minor league field, wherever you're coming from. 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning. That guy right there is always watching. And so you better go out there and be ready to play. And you never know. The other guys are on the other side. There's scouts in the stands. You never know who's watching. like what you look like how you play. Open up some eyes, you get a chance to play in the big leagues.
0-2 is hit softly left side. Can they turn two? Out at second. Nice turn by Gordon, but the ball gets away. So they'll get the lead runner. Jerko is safe at first. And there's one out, and Tommy Pham will be the hitter. Cardinals spring training coverage continues on Fox Sports Midwest Friday afternoon. The Cardinals face the Braves at noon. Catch it on Fox Sports Midwest or head to Ballpark Village for game day specials and to watch it on the big screen. Cardinals spring training right here on Fox Sports Midwest. So here's Tommy Pham. And Pham gets under it. High fly ball into deep center field. Ozuna is back. Gets himself in a position to throw. Jerko does tag, but now back to the bag.
I like Tommy. Tommy's got hard worker. Spent a week down here early in spring. Goes at everything hard. Gives you everything he's got. He's got a nice compact swing. Can run. I think last year he showed he could play at this level. I think it's going to be fun to watch and see if he gets some playing time, what he can do.
He can stay healthy, and that's been the big knock on him in the minor leagues. If he can stay healthy, he's a great athlete. Keeps himself in great condition too, and he can run. That's something that this team, doesn't have a lot of as well.
He's one of those guys that plays hard, and sometimes injuries happen to the guys that play the hardest, and it's just what you get. Got to take it with the good with the bad. But if you're going to go play that hard, you're risking injury some days. But that's the way you play, and that's what gets you to the big leagues.
Anthony Garcia with a home run yesterday in Fort Myers against the Twins. He's a big guy. Some intrigue around him. Those are his career numbers in the minor leagues.
I really like this kid. He's athletic. He's got a good arm. Swing the bat. He's really, I like you come into spring training and these guys are kind of younger and they're new. They're quiet. They listen. You're having to talk with the outfielders. You see, he's really kind of intent on trying to hear what you have to say. Standing there watching their base running drills. He's listening to what Cheo has to say. It's nice to see these younger players. There's a lot of young guys on this team that in the past have come down here and you have a lot of older guys and you kind of feel like you're wasting your time talking. It's almost like, should I even be here? This year I got a good strong feeling like this was a lot more productive year for me as far as just kind of helping out.
Run it! Runner goes and a throw down to second, and a high throw, but still the tag is there by D. Gordon. So Jed Jerko is tagged out at second base trying to steal. That ends the bottom of the second. Did they get him? No replay in spring. Awfully close. No score after 2.
If you're
There's a look at the 8-time Gold Glove winner, Yadier Molina. He's our BJC Healthcare difference maker. All-time Gold Gloves by catchers. Molina's moving up on that list. Johnny Bench second. Pudge Rodriguez with 13. And by a Cardinal, in terms of Gold Gloves, Molina. Next up will be Bob Gibson and then the great Ozzie Smith. My partner today, Jim Edmonds, won 8 of those Gold Gloves, 6 in St. Louis. New pitcher for the Cardinals is Marco Gonzalez. So 2 scoreless innings for Mike Leake and Marco from Fort Collins, Colorado, the 24-year-old. Don Kelly at the plate, and he taps it foul. This is a big camp for a guy like Marco Gonzalez. The Cardinals don't necessarily have to have a 5th starter till the mid-April portion of the schedule. They can push back Carlos Martinez, so you could have an extra spot down in that bullpen, and it might be Marco Gonzalez.
And especially for him, because he's kind of proven himself.
Right.
He can go out there and pitch. They know he can. So you just got to keep showing that you can be out there each year you come into camp. And he's around the plate. He keeps the team in the game all the time. They're really high on him. I just think this is another opportunity for him to just go out and show what he can do. And we've seen in the past, you never know what's going to happen out there on the field. The injuries are just so common nowadays.
It seems like if you're going to be a successful team and franchise, you better have 30 to 35 major league players. You know, somebody's going to get hurt, like you say, and you're going to need those players. There's a ground ball that's hit to Colton Wong, and it's one away.
I think it's funny you say that, because when you're a young player and you're sitting in that locker room, you're thinking, yeah, whatever. You know, 40 guys on the roster, 25 guys during the season. I still got another year. But nowadays, and I think it's even more obvious nowadays, that guys get hurt, and they're going to have to pull away from that minor league system. Why not be you? And I think if you don't have that mentality, it's not going to be you. So you got to show people what you can do here and when you go into the minor league camp.
Base hit by D. Gordon. So you had the third baseman in, and Gordon just slaps it the other way. And you have to play in with Gordon because he had 16 infield hits a year ago to lead the major leagues.
He's just putting the bat on the ball. Hard contact, especially down here in spring training, and especially a third baseman's that close. I mean, it's just, defense is tough. And then he makes anybody move one way or the other. His speed gets him on base with an easy base hit.
He had 58 steals a year ago. So here's the game within the game when you have D. Gordon at first base and Yadier Molina, the best in the game at throwing out base stealers behind the plate. Marcell Ozuna fly to center his first time up. Marco would love the double play. Floats in there for his strike. Boy, he's got a good changeup. That's the one thing that stands out when you watch Marco Gonzalez. Not a hard thrower, but a terrific changeup.
I really like just watching right now, just so calm. Just right after the hitters, throwing strikes, working quickly. I mean, you can tell he's got some experience. And he's ready to move to the next level.
High fly ball into shallow right. Tommy Pham with the shades on makes the catch. Cardinals spring training baseball is live with MLB.com at Bat app. Stay connected all spring with radio broadcasts, video highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone and tablet. Third inning, top half, 2 outs, runner at first, along with Jim Edmonds. I'm Dan McLaughlin. And it's Derek Dietrich at the plate. He grounded out to second his first time up. Remember, this time last year, Marco nearly made the club out of spring training. And then he had shoulder issues all season long. Went down to Memphis, tried to battle through those. He was 1-5 in 14 starts. Did have one big league appearance and was knocked around in that appearance.
Yeah, being hurt is no way to show what you have. I mean, it's so understated. You think a guy's sore, a guy's tired. If you take anything away from these guys, from their stuff, hitters are going to get you. And it's just, these guys are warriors out there. They want to play every day, but
there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, being sore and being hurt, I know there's a difference, but it really, as a pitcher, it really takes a lot out of you, and it's just very hard to compete at the level that you're used to.
Well, you're kind of one-dimensional. You know, if you're Yadier Molina, you can play hurt and be a catcher and make a difference behind the plate, even if you can't hit as well, maybe because of that injury that he's dealing with. If you're Marco Gonzalez, he's got one thing to do, try to get people out. He's dealing with a sore shoulder.
Yeah, and mentally, I think you're out there on the mound worried. You know, you don't want to get hurt anymore. There's certain pitches might hurt a little more than others. It's just a very sensitive situation, and only you know what's bothering you.
The 1-1. I'm curious, with Yadi in the game still and having you as an 8-time Gold Glover here in the booth, how much did you look at his positioning pitch by pitch as to where you would be positioned with a hitter?
Every pitch. That's something you have to do in the outfield. That's something I've been working with the outfielders. I'm sorry, with the infielders. They have to focus so much on every pitch, every finger that he puts down, and that's something I've been working with the outfielders on, trying to pay attention, trying to get a step, a half a step, a lean, anticipation. It does so much for you in the outfield. It's amazing.
3-1 pitch is a ball. Two-out walk, and it brings in Bohr.
You see right here, he's saying, hey, pay attention to what I'm doing right here. And usually when he's trying to get your attention, that means he thinks the ball's coming at you. So right there, I can't tell who he was looking at, probably Colton. But he's telling you, heads up. You know, this is a pitch. Probably that pitch, he's expecting the ball to be hit in that direction. And that's something you watch as an outfielder. You have to pay attention. It's something I was talking to Randall about. You really, to get an edge, you gotta keep your eyes on the catcher.
Justin Bohr reached on an error by Wong his first time up. Marlins are trying to figure out whether or not he can hit lefties. Last year, hit .219 with no home runs against left-handed pitching. And he had 23 total home runs on the year, all against righties. And the 1-1. Breaking ball hit into center field. D. Gordon will score. Richard's throw is back into the infield to Jerko, and that gets away. Gonzalez was backing up home plate. He slides to the baseball, and Bohr will advance to second.
Good job by Marco being aware of what's going on and picking up that loose ball, but this can't really see what's going on out there, but this isn't a situation you want to be in as a guy on defense. Actually, I think he's just throwing the ball into second base, and everybody's kind of given up on second base.
Typically, where are you looking to throw that?
Like I was saying, sometimes as an outfielder, you can't get the guy at the plate. The guy's already going to third, so the hitter's running to first base, and you're really just trying to get the ball out of your hands. And so the first thought on your mind is usually, you should be the cutoff man, but second base is always there for you. And you know, sometimes when the ball gets hit up the middle, you've got both infielders converging, and they kind of just peel off, and as an outfielder, you can't see that. So you just think, I'm coming up and I'm trying to get the ball into second base because there's still people running around. Let them deal with it. Sometimes it's nobody there.
So Chris Johnson is the hitter. The changeup taken low.
That happened to me one time in Bush. I got a line drive, came up, and I caught it, short hopped it, but I caught it right before it hit the ground. And I'm trying to throw the guy out at first. And McGuire's the cutoff man. I throw the ball in the dugout.
The fly ball into shallow center, and Wong will make the catch. That's something they'll talk about, I'm sure, going into the bottom of the third. We'll be back with more spring training in just a moment. Miami with the lead. A reminder that this weekend NASCAR goes west to Phoenix starting Saturday with the Xfinity Series racing. Then Sunday, it's Sprint Cup racing. Dale Earnhardt Jr. looks to defend his title from last year. All begins Saturday at 1 on Fox, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. The Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds is in the booth for the first time. We're excited to have him this year. What are you doing, 30 games?
I think maybe 35. I'm not sure.
30, 35 games.
Some say probably too many. Some say not enough.
Trust me, I know. Here's Anthony Garcia. That's taken low. 2 balls, no strikes. Jimmy with 8 years under his belt with the Cardinals, 8 Gold Gloves, 6 in St. Louis, the 4-time All-Star. Cardinals made a trade to bring you to St. Louis. You made your debut on this field.
Yes, I did. And I was just looking at that. That 8 years went in a blink of an eye.
That's hit down the left field line. Will it stay fair? It is a foul ball. What was your initial reaction when you found out you're coming to St. Louis? Then a follow-up would be, what did you know about the club and what did you learn?
Initially, I was shocked, really shocked. I mean, I thought a lot of trade rumors. I mean, obviously nowadays it's more open and there's more media and stuff, but I got traded. I thought, oh, okay, well, and my main thought process was I'm leaving, not going. I'm leaving. So I was leaving Anaheim, born and raised, all through the minor leagues, and then really didn't know anything about St. Louis. I think I was in shock until I literally landed and walked into this clubhouse the next day.
It's sharply to second on a hop, D. Gordon. One of the great outfielders that the Cardinals have ever seen, Jimmy Edmonds. And what's happening here in this conversation?
Well, I think they're just trying to get together and see what's going on. I don't think this is more Tommy's talking, obviously Mike's listening, Hammer's talking. I think they just kind of like, what's happening? What are you thinking about? Why did that ball get loose? And like I said, I think, you know, there's sometimes on that field you can't explain what's going on. There's not. I mean, you pick up the ball as a center fielder and you're looking to throw the ball to someone. And like I said, the infielders are always moving. Second base is sitting still. So, in your mind, you know that that's your outlet, second base. And then sometimes you get up and throw the ball to second base without even looking. And that's what happens. Like I said, I got a guy leading off first base, caught him halfway going to second. I came up firing to first base, and McGuire was standing on the mound. The ball rolls into the dugout, and La Russa's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I said, I got the third out halfway to second base, as force play back at first. And he's yelling at me because he's supposed to be standing on first for the way I'm concerned. Of course, he's not yelling at Mark. So
that would never happen.
No, I got the brunt of it.
You and Tony had an interesting relationship, to say the least.
We had a great relationship as far as, I think, professional, working. Kind of felt like as a veteran, as I got a little older, I could speak to him. I could argue with him. I could tell him how the players feel. And then he would argue back. So
this is Michael Ullman. Broken bat caught by D. Gordon for the second out. I should mention that we had our evening with Tony La Russa a couple years ago, and in the crowd, taking it all in, was one Jim Edmonds. And I know that, you think back to it, it was a special relationship that you had with Tony.
We did, and I've said this so many times. I think it was father-son relationship. You're always going to argue with your parents when you think you're right. It was great, though. He made me grow as a man as well as a ball player, and I thought that was just something I appreciated so much. Something that you don't get every day. And guess we can talk more about that after the break, but it was a great relationship.
That'll be it for the starter, Conley, and Miami goes to their bullpen. We'll tell you about the change when we come back. Analyst role that Jimmy has now. He's going to tell you all about the history of Rodell Lazo.
And go back to whatever we were talking about before the break.
Welcome to spring training games. Lazo is a minor leaguer for Miami and got a invite to big league camp, so here he is. And he gets Colton Wong.
And these are the guys you don't want to face as a veteran. As a player, I think that it's just, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what he's got. You don't know if he's wild. You don't know anything about him. So you just go up there and try to have the best at bat you can.
Kind of go back to your instincts instead of, you know, all the scouting reports that you get before a game at a major league level and the video. Well, if you went to Colton Wong right now, he probably has no idea about this guy.
Not at all. You know what? You play through the minor leagues and you just go out there and play the game. It's almost like you just have to tell these guys. They get so used to the information. You know, talk to Mabes all the time about, you know, you're really just trying to keep these guys, you know, from overthinking too much. And sometimes you got to go out there and say, you know, see the ball and hit it, just like you've been doing your whole life until you get to the big leagues. So it's weird. You get here and you have all this information, and sometimes it's almost too much.
Here's Matt Carpenter. He grounded out to second his first time up. Colton Wong was the top base stealer for the Cardinals a year ago. Carpenter on the first pitch pops it foul. The last Cardinal to lead the league in steals, you have to go back to 1990. Vince Coleman had 77 with the Cardinals in 1990. Wong had 15 a year ago.
Times have changed.
Oh, have they? Game has changed. The speed is out of it for the most part. And the throw over.
Such a fine, the coaching staff does such a great job with trying to control the running game, because it can be such a big part of a team. You know, every time you get a guy to second base, you put so much more pressure on the defense than if the guy's at first. So they try to do a really good job of just controlling the tempo.
0-2.
You're controlling the time to the plate. You know, I was out there a couple weeks ago during pitchers batting practice, which is actually pitchers work, and one of the guys was throwing, and they were timing his time to the plate while he was just throwing on the side. You know, and they're constantly watching to try to improve everyone, to make them better, to be equipped to be at this level.
0-2 pitch, swung on and missed, and Carpenter strikes out. So that ends the third. Miami on top. It's 1-0. And it's 1-0 Marlins. There are great bobblehead giveaways throughout this season, including Holiday, Rosenthal, a special 2006 Final Out dual bobblehead, and more. Get your tickets through a 5 or 10 game pack or as an individual ticket. It's on sale now at Cardinals.com. Along with Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Third pitcher used by the Cardinals today will be Matt Bowman. He's a Rule 5 pickup. Cardinals picked him up from the Mets in December, and he pitched at Las Vegas a year ago. That's the AAA affiliate for the Mets. He went 7-16, and the Cardinals really like this guy.
I like him too. I got to stand behind him one day in batting practice, pitcher's practice, sorry, and really good stuff. I hope I don't jinx him right here, but good sinker, good slider, and a changeup, but very good fastball. Just it's really interesting when you see a guy that's whatever 5-16 one year, and then he comes out in spring training and you watch him close up without live situation, and you say, how does this guy lose 16 games? Vegas maybe, but hopefully guys like that learn something from that year, and then they can go the next year and apply it to what they've gone through.
He's wearing those glasses. He was hit on the face about a week ago. It was the eye area, so he's wearing protective glasses here today. I just wonder how uncomfortable that may be for him.
Yeah, I think I saw that he was hit in a drill.
Right.
Which, I mean, drills are getting more intense these days also.
The 2-1 is lined foul by Real Muto.
This guy's, Mike's doing a great job this year, is keeping people going. They're having a bunt competition, they're having a fielders competition, and position players are bunting for competition, the pitchers are bunting. I mean, you got to keep it moving and keep guys interested, and they're always trying to find a new way.
A little chopper to Jed Jerko over to Holiday for the out. As you mentioned earlier too, Jimmy, I mean, guys get here so early for camp. I mean, report date was middle of February, and guys had been here since January. And so you're trying to keep it from not getting so dull, and that's one way to do it. And right now it's that area where you go, well, it's getting a little long, isn't it?
Well, the hard thing for a position player is you've been hitting, and you get here and you get comfortable, and then you're just like, okay, I feel like I'm ready. Maybe not yet, but maybe in another couple days. Pitchers, they know they got to work. They got to get in shape. Their arms got to come along. They got to work their way into being 5-6 innings. But as a hitter, you can get ready really quick, and then you got to keep from getting stale. And that is definitely the toughest part about being a position player in spring training, is it does get long. You got to figure a way to keep everything interesting.
Cole Gillespie is at the plate. 2 balls, no strikes. I got to say, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's interesting to watch from this angle.
A little different, isn't
it? A little bit lower, too, which I like. We're not at the top of the stadium. Well,
we are, but yes. The vantage point that you'll see at times, let's say like Pittsburgh, Washington, Wrigley Field, that booth which you're going to be in Chicago, it's a little different, believe me.
It is. I always wonder when you're watching from up here how well you can see what's going on, and you got to rely on the TV, and there's a lot going on, so it's like it's definitely something to get used to.
Game a little easier watching it from up here instead of being down there.
It's much easier from TV. It gets a little difficult from the booth, and it gets a lot more difficult on the field.
I figured as much.
You can see the velocity and the speed of the game from here in live action. On TV, man, it really looks in slow motion.
It does.
You have to concentrate or be. Your thought process really has to get away from, man, this looks easy. You're sitting at home and you're like, how did he not catch that ball? And you got to go, oh yeah, I remember how difficult the game was. You're running in quicksand, the wind's blowing, the ball's bobbling. It's just, there's so many things going on in that field. It's just so hard to explain.
There's a 1-out walk to Gillespie. Here's Echeverria. There's a good sinking action you were talking about.
Yeah, he's got great movement. He really does. I mean, I'm really curious to see how he gets through this spring training. I think he's going to be one to watch this spring training to see what happens. I don't know if when you watch a guy throw like this, you don't want to let him get away, but then you obviously got a lot more guys, and there's a lot more to it than just batting practice.
Perfect hit and run. Put it in play to the right side. Echeverria. That makes it 1st and 3rd with only 1 out and a chance for the 9th place hitter, Don Kelly. This is well done here by Adeiny Echeverria.
Well, he stays inside of a sinker, and you see Colton probably playing a little bit up the middle because of the sinker. Hopefully he's going to pull the ball to the left side of the infield, and the exact opposite happens, and That's why this game's so beautiful. You never know what's going to happen.
That drops in for a strike. One out, runners at the corners. A 1-0 Miami lead on an RBI by Justin Bour back in the third. Echeverria is a threat to steal. And Bowman's thinking the same thing. The 0-1. It's interesting how Matt Holliday is making this transition to first base. And in a situation like this, you've got a runner you're holding on and a left-handed batter. You know, there's different ways to do it, and I know you did it a number of times in your career, and that's played first base.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's a day off. It's kind of a day off with your body, but mentally, you really got to be focused. Everything's happening so much faster. Your brain is working overtime, especially when you're used to being out there with some time to process. You don't have time to process at first base, and there's so much going on. If you lose your train of thought for 1 second, guys picking over, the ball's put in play, guys throwing behind you, forget to cover, you forget to be the cutoff man.
Little pop-up into shallow center, and that ball is down. Jerko couldn't get to it. Everybody is safe. A run will score. That's Gillespie to make it 2-0.
See here, you get a weak little fly ball. As a runner, you got to be careful. I think sometimes what you don't see from the TVs is when you're on first and the ball's hitting the air, you have a little bit different angle than when you're on third. It's a little easier to read balls that are in the air going towards the outfield.
Gordon, can they turn two? Out at second, on to first, and the stretch by Holliday. It's a double play. One of the toughest to double up. It goes 4-6-3. Bowman gives up a run. Miami on top. Score of 2-0. Marlins with the lead. You can celebrate Busch Stadium's 10-year anniversary through the pages of the new Post-Dispatch book, Busch Stadium, A Decade of Excellence. Highlights include photos, memories, season recaps of each year, and excerpts from Derek Gould and Hall of Fame writer Rick Hummel. Don't wait. Order now. Busch Stadium, A Decade of Excellence, now at stltoday.com/BuschBook. And thinking of the Post-Dispatch, our thoughts and prayers to the family of Joe Strauss, longtime beat writer, columnist, involved in St. Louis sports, who passed away this offseason. So our thoughts and prayers to the family of Joe Strauss. A walk by Holliday's first time up.
Taking some good swings today.
Yes, he is.
And it's still early in camp, and that's mean, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for be comfortable and being aggressive at the plate.
0-1 pitch.
And swinging at strikes and taking balls. I mean, that's as much a part of the game as hitting home runs and hitting base hits. It's being able to recognize pitches and taking difficult pitches. Those are the things that you don't really understand or don't see when you're not out there, but those are just as big of a part as getting base hits.
1-2 the count. Brian Morris worked out of the pen a year ago for the Miami Marlins. A season ago, he was terrific. Had an ERA when they acquired him that was under 1. Had some ups and downs last year, and he'll be in their bullpen this season. And it's 2-2. The 2-2. Holiday chops it towards third. And Matt is the first out. It's really an up and down year a season ago when you think about the Miami Marlins, because they fired their manager. They put the GM in as the manager. Then he's fired this offseason. He's out of the organization. And then they go out and hire Don Mattingly. And under Jeffrey Loria, this is already the 7th manager they've had since he took over possession of the club. There's Randall Grichuk. Grichuk lines it into right center field. Taking 2 out of the box, and he'll stop right there. So a single for Grichuk, who's 1 for 2 today.
Nice and short, inside out. Great spring training at bat. I'll probably say that a lot this year, but it's so important to be comfortable at the plate during spring training. It's perfect right there. And he does have a great number.
You don't mind that?
It's hard to watch at the beginning, but I mean, I love the kid. I think he's great. I think it's perfect. Hopefully he doesn't feel any pressure, because he shouldn't, but it's nice. It's, like I said, couldn't be a better kid to work with.
Here's Brandon Moss. The shift is on. Just wonder how tempted guys like Moss and Matt Adams are in these type of spots just to drop one down the third base line. If you put it in play, I mean, your chances there on that third base line, probably 75% you're going to be safe.
I mean, I think it's logical and a great idea. I think sometimes the manager giving a left-handed hitter hitting against a right-handed pitcher, down by 2, guy that can hit some home runs. I'm thinking, watching the game, why not? The more guys you can put on base, the better. Sometimes their thought process is, why not? Why can't you be the guy to hit the home run? Why do you want to give it to someone else? So it's different. Everyone's got a different philosophy.
Moss in the hole, 0-2.
One of my favorite things growing up as a kid in the minor leagues with the Angels was Joe Madden was our hitting instructor for the roving hitting instructor for all of the minor leagues. And his famous line was, load them up and let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. So that's my mentality. Let's see how many people we can get on base and we'll take our chances. So, I mean, you're at the big leagues for a certain reason. I always thought that just getting guys on base and putting pressure on the defense was important. Other guys think letting the lefty face the righty is more important. So I think both sides work. I just think that you really, you got to know your personnel.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Moss. Just missed, down and in.
A situation like this too, as a hitter, you got to understand, now he's a lefty with some power facing a righty. He's probably there's a chance he could be pitching around you. Even though it's spring training, you still got to get a good pitch to hit. He probably would rather face the righty in a situation. Just because it's spring training doesn't mean he's not trying to do his job. He doesn't want to give up any runs just because the stats don't mean anything.
2-2 and a called third strike. Moss knew it.
Good slider.
So Morris gets his first strikeout. Moss is 1 for 2, and it brings in Jed Jerko.
Oh, I don't know what that was. Might have been a sinker. Kind of came back a little bit, but it's a tough situation. That's like I said, too. Play the game in your own head where you're trying to figure out, is he pitching to me? Is he not pitching to me? That's why some guys make a big deal about the 8th hole hitter being such a tough spot to hit. He has the hardest time on the field trying to decide if they pitch it to me or they're not.
Now Jed Jerko hit into a fielder's choice back in the second, then was caught stealing. The question right now, can he play shortstop every day for the Cardinals? They're going to find that out here in the next couple of weeks. You know, there's certain guys you would say, boy, you can't lose him. A Wainwright, Molina, Holiday, and they all missed significant time last year. And I think on that list, too, would be Johnny Peralta.
Well, I think your key guys obviously are up the middle. I mean, you look at it, you throw your pitcher in there if you want. He's only out there 1 out of every 5 days, but your stud. But it's tough to lose your catcher. It's tough to lose your shortstop and your center fielder.
Little tapper towards third, low throw, and everybody is safe. So Dietrich with the low throw. Third baseman today for Miami.
A little sloppy defense going on out here today.
You know what? Every game
Spring training,
it's been sloppy. But you get that. You know that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. It's still early.
So here's Tommy Pham, who has new contacts in, and he talked about his vision being a big issue at times in the minor leagues and even at times last year. You can't see, it would be tough to hit.
You think?
Yeah. So with 2 outs, a chance for Tommy Pham, who fly to deep center first time up. Brian Morris, third pitcher used by the Marlins. They started with Conley. He went an inning and 2/3. Then Lazo, the lefty, and now Brian Morris. Here's the 0-1. Slowly hit. Another chance for Dietrich. And everybody is safe again. You know Tommy Pham can run.
Yeah, he can. You can even hear my comment. As soon as he lets go of the ball, you can tell it's down and in the dirt. Running hard the whole way. Trying to make an impression. Trying to get on base. And that's a base hit. I mean, the score is going to make the decision, but as far as I'm concerned, running that hard, tough play, you've done a good job. You've done your job. You've gotten on base. You move guys around, and look what we have here. We have the bases loaded, and see what happens.
What impressed you about Tommy Pham when you were on the backfields with those outfielders?
He works hard. He really does. I really like the way he goes after it. He knows what he's doing, and he knows he's a hard worker, and he's trying to get better every day.
Came in great shape. Grichuk as well. Piscotty. Anthony Garcia grounded out to second. First time up, he's 0 for 1. Two outs, bases loaded. Home portion of the 4th inning. It's one of those cases, too. The ball finds you. Dietrich made that play. Low throw. Then Tommy Pham. Soft chopper to him. The ball will find you.
And you got a guy on the mound with sinkers.
Right.
Right-hander's going to roll over it a little bit. Right now, you're at third base. Sometimes you just don't want the ball hit to you.
Right. You never said that, though.
We talked about it this morning. Gritch and I were talking about the wind, and it's one of those things that when the wind's blowing hard in an outfield, you're kind of, you don't want it to be one of those days, and it can get that way in a hurry, as we've just seen.
Numbers on Dietrich from a year ago. The Miami Marlins collectively had the top fielding percentage in all of baseball. The 2-1 pitch. 2-2.
I think sometimes in spring training we forget baseball's an easy game as far as catching the ball and you have to throw it, but the timing of everything and the rhythm of your steps and you're getting your legs underneath you and everything coming at once. You know, it's one thing to catch a ball in spring training. It's one thing to take ground balls. It's another thing to play catch. But when it all has to come together at game speed, it just takes a while to get all of that together. And it's timing in your hands and coordination are one of the last things that come during the course of spring training. And it takes a couple weeks.
The 2-2 again. You can see a right-handed bat, as you mentioned, rolling over on that sinker.
Go to his bread and butter. He's going to keep throwing that sinker, trying to get a ground ball. Occasional slider, down and away, try to speed you up. So they throw the sinker inside to get you looking in there so they can throw the slider off the plate on the outside to get you cheating. Sinker slider guys.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
So much easier to say from up here than it is when you're in the box.
Yes, it is. I'm sure it is.
Because the problem is you're flipping a coin. Is it the sinker or is it the slider?
You were, I said at times, a guess hitter. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say guess. I was really good at reading what was going on. I was really good at taking pitches. And I was really good at looking bad at times, I guess, too. Because if you think that someone's guessing, then you don't look good. But I tried to see, I tried to play into what was going on out there. And I really tried to read the glove. I tried to look for pitchers tipping. I tried to rely on everything that I had because I didn't have the ability a lot of these guys have. It wasn't blessed with speed, power, and all the baseball tools that a lot of these guys that have over the years. And I really had to work at it.
2-2 is hit to short. And a forced play at second. So the Cardinals strand the bases loaded. As Jimmy said, he got the ground ball. We head to the 5th. Marlins on top. Been watching Bowman throw here to get loose. He's been going to his pitching hand, his fingertips, licking those, looking at it. And it's one thing when you see a pitcher lick his fingers. It's another, though, when he keeps looking down and you just wonder if there's a blister or something kind of materializing right now with him.
You hope not. Obviously, it's really early, but
those can be nagging injuries, not just in spring, but all season long. Marcell Ozuna, second inning of work for Bowman. Mike Leake made the start today, went 2 innings. Back to Bowman, 1 pitch and 1 out. There's Derek Dietrich. Got off the hook after that error that was committed back in the bottom of the 4th. Tim Trocchi and Pat Paris.
I was going to say, some visitors. I feel like Papa Pat's looking over my shoulder, making sure I'm doing all right.
I bet he was pretty tough on you during those pre- and post-game shows and yelled a lot.
He's a slave driver.
Took your notes, slammed them in the trash, said, pick it up, Edmonds. That's the kind of guy Pat is. I'm not sure Pat has had a bad day in his life.
A lot of bad scripts, but not a bad day. A few pre-games, if you know what I mean.
And an 0-2 from Bowman. Hit out of play. We will have 147 regular season games coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. All begins with the opener in Pittsburgh. That'll have a 2-hour pregame show.
I'll be ready for that one. Can't wait to hear Pat talk for 2 hours.
Are you on that one too?
No, sir.
No.
That's 2 hours. They won't let me do that one.
We'll let you come up here for 3 hours.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
0-2 the count on Derek Dietrich. The next by Bowman. Breaking ball, hung it. And that is a fair ball. Down into the right field corner. Dietrich on his way to second. Dietrich thinking 3. Throw by Wong is not in time. It's a triple. So a triple for Dietrich. And again, here's what we have coming up. April schedule highlights for the Cardinals and our fans. The Pittsburgh Pirates had 98 wins and then 1-game playoff lost again. The Cubs with Hayward and Lackey returning to St. Louis. The Diamondbacks made all kinds of changes. Bryce Harper, will see him in early May, the MVP. So fun schedule coming up early in the season.
Some good stuff right there.
In particular, thinking about the return of Lackey and Hayward with everything that's gone on this offseason as Justin Bour digs in. Little flare out to left field. This ball will drop and a run will score to make it 3-0. But I'm just curious from a player's perspective, how much they get involved with, some of the things that were said by Jason Hayward or guys leaving and going to an arch rival, if it's really that big a deal.
It really isn't. I think that as a player, you play with somebody, you know them. You don't really worry about what they say unless they're talking about a player. Obviously, guys get a little sensitive when they have to leave and go to new teams. But as a player, you're just trying to get through. You might look at the schedule and see where you're going, what cities you're going to, if you're getting close to your hometown or your side of the country. But not really. I think looking at that schedule that we just showed on TV, as a fan, as a person watching from this angle now, it's exciting to see the Bryce Harpers and the Cubs being better, and Pittsburgh's getting better, and so is Arizona. I think that's exciting to see because we have so much social media and so much stuff going on, and guys are changing teams. So as a player, not so much. As a fan, yeah, I'm looking at that schedule. I'm looking to see that stuff, but definitely not on the field. You have too much to worry about.
It's always a great rivalry, the Cards and the Cubs, but now it seems like it's been taken to a different level this year.
It's getting better again. It seems like it's getting back to the early 2000s where both teams are going to be good. And they're both looking at each other, from a distance.
I think back to that day at Wrigley, you hit a home run on the street after being knocked down by Carlos Zambrano and then hit early in the game by him.
Yeah.
That's when it was fun. Dusty, Tony, good teams.
Kerry Wood.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was a little stress, but a lot of fun. And it's going to be fun again. I think this is great for baseball and great for the competition.
Should be a double play, and it is. Cardinals have turned 2 today. Miami, though, adds to their lead with a bloop single, scoring Dietrich 3-0. Fans to celebrate a common interest while enjoying access to a unique promotional item or exclusive pregame event. And this year's theme nights include Star Wars Night, Nurses Night, American Girl Night, Grateful Dead Night, and so much more. For information or to purchase tickets, just visit cardinals.com/theme. New pitcher in is right-hander Paul Clemens. We saw him 2 days ago against the Cardinals. And he will get the 5th inning. Clemens, the 4th pitcher used by the Marlins. They've had Conley, Lazo, Morris, and now this right-hander. Michael Ullman. First pitch is pulled foul. We were talking the other day with Al. Cardinals have sold 2.6 million tickets already.
Wow.
2.6 million.
Why not?
It's the thing to do.
I mean, look at, throw a winner out there every year. Exciting young players.
I think that's been the amazing thing about this run, which goes back to when you were playing. The Cardinals, 162. That was their record a year ago. First time to get to 100 wins since 05. 5th consecutive appearance in the postseason. It's almost become the norm to have the Cardinals in the playoffs as Ullman takes a ball just a bit low. I always felt it was your group that turned it all around. When you got to St. Louis, Fernando Vina, Dave Veers, who was a very good unheralded closer at the time.
There's a lot of guys like that. The Eric Davises, the Sean Dunstons, the Thomas Howards. Obviously, Mark was here. Tatis, those guys. You know what, though? The organization did a great job turning this around.
Ullman grounds out to third and is able to stay on the bag for the out. Yeah, McGuire, when he got to St. Louis, half of 97, just tore it up. He was incredible. Then he re-signs with the club in 98, hit 70. The next year was 65. And give ownership credit. As the turnstiles were rolling and fans were coming to watch him, then they reinvested that into, paying for Jim Edmonds and paying for some of the players that they brought in.
And you cannot forget that what a job, I think, my personal opinion of what Walt did here.
Sure.
Walt Jocketty. I mean, he had to see these guys, see players like myself and believe in people like that. I mean, I think when I got here in 2000, there was a gangload of people that were brand new.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, now you look back and they knew what they were doing, the ownership, giving him the ability to go out there and get players. I know every year we had a good trade at the trade deadline to push us into the playoffs. I mean, there's something to be said for that, and they've just carried it on. I think Mo's doing a great job of getting young talent in here, and Mike's doing a great job of letting them go out there and play and teaching. And I think it's all part of it. You just can't throw guys out there and expect them to play and win.
1-2 on Colt Wong in the top spot today. Walked back in the third, also grounded out to short. On the flip side, Don Mattingly played in New York, managed with the Dodgers, and now goes to a payroll that is a lot less than what he had in Los Angeles.
One of his players in L.A.?
Exactly. I was looking the other day, they had 5 guys in their rotation that would match the payroll of some teams.
It's definitely a different look. I mean, you got to think that this Miami team is talented. They're young, talented. It's okay to be young, is talented. You throw it on the, you throw it out there. It's just very hard to compete with teams with veterans and proven winners.
Fly ball out to deep left field. That ball carries, and it's off the wall. Wong to second, and he'll stop there. 1 out double for Colton Wong. You're talking about the wind, and it is blowing towards that direction and left.
Yeah, what you don't see is he does hit the ball in the barrel. He just misses it a little bit, but he stays behind it, and he gets the ball up in the air, and it takes off. As a hitter, you know that the ball's going to carry when you hit it like that. As somebody watching from up here in the booth, or guy on the field, or even a pitcher, you're hoping that that's not going to be the case, but the player, you know what's going on out there. Stay behind the ball, hit the barrel, let it happen.
Dean Anna is your pinch runner. And here is Patrick Wisdom.
I don't know if you noticed, but when you're sitting up here, you can see more than just the stadium. You look out to right field, and the flag's kind of barely blowing. It's blowing, but it's not blowing hard. You look out over the left field, and there's some flags kind of off to the distance, and they're blowing a little bit harder. And then we show a picture kind of behind the stadium, and the flags are even blowing harder. So it just depends on what angle the wind's coming from.
And it changes by inning.
And it does change by inning, and it gets stronger.
A fastball taken by Wisdom, down and in. 1 ball, no strikes. Last year he was at Double-A, hit .237. Did have some high strikeout numbers. Cardinals, though, still high on Patrick Wisdom. Here's a 1-0. Instead, a check on the runner, Dean Anna. And a 1-0 pitch to Patrick Wisdom.
Oh.
Hold on, Jimmy.
I just like I love the good swings. You spend time with these kids, and you're rooting for them, and you see them put together a good swing regardless. I think that's part of still being the fan and the semi-instructor. But you're always hoping these kids put together good at-bats, and that's all you can ask for. And it's fun. It's fun to watch. I think it's get to know these kids by their personalities and see how hard they work in the morning.
Hit out of play. You know, another guy I work with is Rick Horton. And he says, he always tells the young guys, be good to those when you're going up, because you're going to see them on the way down. And here you are, Jimmy, with me. After all these years, we're back.
We are back.
You're always good to us. Always. Except one day in Montreal. You got a little fired up at me.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it.
Probably a long night before Montreal.
I miss going to that place.
That stuff didn't bother me. I really enjoyed seeing the things that people didn't really like. I remember going to Pittsburgh for the first time, and people talked about how bad the old stadium was. And I got there, and I'm like, I think you picture it so bad, and you get there, and you realize how much has gone on in the past. And I've grown up watching the Pirates of the old days, and it was kind of fun for me. Something different.
What about the vet?
I didn't mind it. I loved hitting in those ballparks. I mean, I got to go. I got to hit a ball in the upper deck in Philadelphia. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Playing surface was a little rough.
I'm lucky though. I'm standing so far away from the hitter that the playing surface really doesn't affect me as much as it would the infielders.
Mm-hmm.
And being on that turf for me as an outfielder, I felt that I could run faster. I felt the ball gets to you quicker. It can almost make it an easier day for playing defense. So you don't have to work so hard to get in the gaps. You don't have to work so hard coming forward to the ball. It's going to roll to you. So it was a little bit, almost like a semi-day off as far as your legs were concerned, because you're not having to dig so hard all the time.
You think about that infield that you're talking about. Jimmy Rollins was a terrific player on that infield. And then I think about Scott Rowland, and we saw him firsthand in St. Louis. For my money, the best defensive third baseman I've ever seen. He was unbelievable.
Me too. I thought he would go down as one of the best ever. Obviously, injuries and that shoulder gave him some problems at the end, but man, he was so much fun to watch and so much fun to play behind.
3-2 pitch. That's driven out to deep left field. Has a chance to lead the ballpark. It is a home run. Patrick Wisdom with a 2-run shot, and the Cardinals get on the board.
I was a little premature, but I was in the right ballpark.
Yeah. It's a good at bat.
It was. He just gets a fastball that catches too much of the zone, gets it up in the wind, and like I said, as soon as he hit it, he knew it was a homer. You know, as a hitter, you know that wind's blowing. You know you get it up in the air, you got a chance.
That's in the air, but that'll stay in the ballpark. Jonathan Rodriguez with a fly ball into center. And there's 2 down. So Ullman grounded out. Long the double. Dean Anna came in to pinch run for him. Wisdom, his first plate appearance, hits a 2-run bomb. And here's Randall Grichuk. It's now a 3-2 Miami lead. You know, that's something the Cardinals did not have a lot of a year ago. Power. They were in the bottom 5 of home runs in all of baseball, bottom 6 in RBIs. If Grichuk stays healthy, can get 500 to 600 at bats. You would think it's not far-fetched that he could knock out 30 to 35 home runs.
Definitely. I mean, he's coming to camp in great shape this year. He's bigger, stronger, compact. He's got great power up the middle. I really think that this is, it's early to say, but sky's the limit. I think as a player with this kind of ability, it really just depends on how much you're going to put into it and what you're going to learn.
Good breaking ball. And strike 2.
Sometimes learning is your biggest asset. Sometimes figuring it out, making the game easier on yourself can propel you to being a better player versus just going out there and outworking everyone.
Grichuk is 1 for 2 today with a single into right center. Also lined out to the second baseman at that time, D. Gordon. I agree with you. He's come in tremendous condition. Another breaking ball and a knee buckler that time. So he strikes out. Third and final out, but Patrick Wisdom gets the Cardinals on the board. Their second home run this spring. No doubt it. He knew it. 2-run shot. 3-2 as we enter the 6th. Spring training 2016. And a reminder, the regular season is full of great matchups, great giveaways. The bobbleheads, the replica jerseys, and much more. Cardinals have Trevor Rosenthal coming on to pitch the 6th inning. Patrick Wisdom, you see him there with that 2-run homer to get St. Louis on the scoreboard, and it's 3-2. JT Realmuto, the catcher for the Marlins, has struck out and also grounded out to short, 0 for 2. Last time out for Rosenthal, a little bit of a lack of control, and that was not like him a year ago. His control was very good.
Yeah, he made a big improvement last year with his control, but much to be expected in spring training. He had I think his first or second outing in camp on the backfield. He had amazing control, an amazing day, and everyone was raving about that. When you see one of your studs going out there and making it look easy early in camp, I think it's a really good sign. But yet you're going to have one of those days where you wake up in the morning and everything feels off.
Here's a 1-1. And for a guy like Rosenthal, this stage in spring training, Jim, and you were talking from a hitter's perspective, maybe working counts, doing little things that you might not do in the regular season. For a pitcher that he knows he's got a spot on the team. He knows he's the closer. He can go out there and work on some different things too.
Yeah, for sure. He is, working on a pitch here and there maybe, or working on a location that he wasn't so successful with last year. And overall, he's just working. He's working to get back in shape. He's working on being able to control his body, his emotions, his legs back into shape, his arm back into shape. I mean, it is a process for these guys, and it doesn't matter how long you've been around. Every day out here is a day that you're trying to get everything in order to be ready to go on opening day, and it's a pretty obvious statement, but
it's very true though. 3-2 is fouled back. Trevor coming off a great year a season ago. He had 48 saves, and that is the all-time single season record now in Cardinals history. He won ahead of Lee Smith at 47 in 1991. And Big Lee is not in the Hall of Fame with 478 career saves.
Crazy.
Up the middle and a base hit.
Yeah, you can see right there, leaving a ball up in the zone. Doesn't matter how hard you throw. Down here, young, old, doesn't matter. Guys are swinging the bat, and they're here for a reason. So same thing, working on getting the ball down, working on maybe sometimes when you're here, you're feeling so fresh with your legs that you're trying a little bit too much, or pushing a little too hard, or trying to throw too hard. So it's a learning experience. It doesn't matter how long you've been around.
A pinch runner, that is Wilson now for Miami. Here's Cole Gillespie on a hop and off the glove of Dean Anna. Couldn't come up with it. Into right it goes. It looked like he was almost in between as to whether or not to catch it.
Well, it looked like it was going to get to him, and then it just kind of died. So maybe he got jammed a little bit more than it appeared, but the ball kind of just died as it got to him.
Sure did.
A lot of slice on it too. That makes it tough. It's like trying to hit a tennis ball on a serve with all that spin. And as soon as it hits the ground, it almost changes directions. And when the hop is too far away from you, and it's an in-between hop, that's why we say it's in between being too close and too far. You're not, the reaction time is, you don't know where it's going to end up.
Adeiny Echeverria, more than likely his final at bat of the day. Many of the regulars starting to head to the showers. Maybe a golf course.
Never really played golf when I played baseball.
Mess up your swing?
I never even tried.
You do it now, though.
I try now. Try is a key word.
That ball scoots away. Rosenthal late to getting there at the plate. The ball heads to third, and a run does score to make it 4-2. So Wilson scoring the 4th run for Miami here today.
Good slider, just got underneath his glove. It's the thing about having a great catcher. When you get Yachty, we take it for granted. It's not easy. It really isn't. You see right there, it wasn't that bad of a slider, but it's just catching someone different, not getting all the way down.
Ullman's a big kid too. He's 6'5". Cardinals really like his bat, and thought that this would be a spring training to work on little things like this. His defense, he threw out a guy, a base stealer 2 days ago. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Adeiny Echeverria. And a fly ball lifted into right. Catch is made, and the runner stays put.
I think that going back a little bit, we take for granted now that we've seen Yachty for a few years. We take for granted the fact that the guy before Yachty was the one to set the tone for the catching position. He's the manager. It's Mike Matheny. He was relentless in the mornings. He was relentless in blocking. He was relentless in calling the game. His hitting approach sometimes had to take a back seat because he knew that his job at the plate, behind the plate, was so important. And that's what Yachty gets. And now these guys have a chance to learn from Yachty. So I think in a situation like this, you bring young catchers up that you might want to, have in your back pocket for the future, given if Yachty gets hurt again. I don't think there's a better combination of people in baseball right now to learn from, and that would be Mike and Yachty.
No doubt.
And something can be said for just standing there watching these guys. And I know 100% that the player that Yachty is today reflects in everything that he watched Mike Matheny do. And that cannot be said enough.
2-0 the count on Don Kelly. Kelly with an RBI single back in the 4th, also grounded out. 15 pitches thus far for Trevor Rosenthal. Here's a 2-1 pitch. Little high, 3-1.
Not a bad pitch. It's one thing I don't understand is I was always a high ball hitter, so it's hard for me to see when guys take a fastball down the middle, belt high.
That's what you're looking for.
And we're not calling it a strike a lot of times, which I don't understand either. But how do you not swing at it? Especially when a guy's throwing a 4-seam fastball.
And for fans that don't know, explain the difference between 4-seam and 2-seam.
Well, I think when you throw the ball, when you throw a baseball with the seams, when they're rotating, all 4 of them are rotating straight, the ball's going to stay true, and it's going to stay on a straighter path. When you turn the ball over to the side with the horseshoe, and you get a little off-centered rotation in the ball, the seams will catch and the ball will run. And sometimes it can run to one side, and sometimes it can cut to the other side. So a guy's throwing a 4-seam fastball, you could be a little bit more aggressive at the plate.
Here's Robert Andino. I just think about, and you faced him a number of times, but Greg Maddux. I mean, Greg Maddux on a left-handed batter, it looked like it was going to hit you in the hip, and then all of a sudden ducks in and it's a strike, and you gave up on that pitch.
Probably half of his strikeouts were from that pitch. But yeah, it's something you got to tell yourself to be ready for. And
see if they can't turn 2. No, that goes into center field. Off the glove of Jed Jerko. A run does score, and runners advance. They'll have it at 1st and 3rd. The Cardinals were trying to turn their 3rd double play of the afternoon.
Trevor does a good job right there setting his feet. Just looks like he kind of short-armed it, and just trying to hit a moving target isn't as easy as it looks. And how many times can we say that's what spring training's for?
Right.
And it's just all aspects of the game you have to get together, and that's why you're down here.
That's 4 errors collectively in this game. That pitch taken high. And a nightmare for a manager is that you have 20 pitches being thrown here by Rosenthal. You'll have only 1 out. You don't want your closer going 30, 35 pitches.
Yeah, I look to see maybe somebody getting up pretty soon here. The thing that happens is everyone's on pretty much a schedule. So during the regular season, a guy throws a lot of pitches. You can give him a day off. Here, the schedule's so tight. You never know.
Justin Maxwell hits into a 4-6-3 double play. So the Cardinals turn their 3rd double play of the afternoon. Miami adds to their lead. It's 5-2. Clemens is finishing up his warm-up tosses. Second inning of work for him. The 2016 season full of great matchups, cool giveaways, including 7 bobbleheads, 6 replica jerseys, 3 championship rings, and more. You can check out that lineup and get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
Hold on.
Former batting champion with the Boston Red Sox. DeSmet High School's very own Bill Miller right there. John Mabry on the left and Mike Matheny. The gang is all back. Billy could flat out hit.
Yeah,
the shift is
did
on
a lot
here for Moss.
He did a lot. He worked hard. He was knowledgeable. And that's, I think, the key. I think anytime you see guys like Billy, wasn't the best player in the league, wasn't most high profile. I like Jason Simatachi in the minor leagues. I think a guy like that who really had to work at his craft has so much knowledge of what it's like to be an everyday and normal player. I mean, I think you get a guy like Barry Bonds out there. He's a great asset to a team. But how many people can really understand how good he was and how his thought process is so much better than everyone else? And I remember talking to a guy like Eduardo Perez in the minor leagues, and he's trying to teach me things, and a guy like Mark McGuire. They see things differently that most people can't comprehend. So a guy like Billy Miller, John Mabry, guys like that, even Mike Matheny, a workhorse that had to work every day. Myself, I worked my butt off trying to get better. They can give you so much more in a layman's terms of just, this is how I did it and this is why I did it. You get so much more information than maybe the best player in the league kind of didn't have to do so many things to work so hard at it.
Brandon Moss takes a ball. I said to Billy Miller last year, I said, you could make a case, the greatest base hit in Red Sox history. It was his hit off of Mariano Rivera in Game 4 of the 2004.
Scored Dave Roberts.
Right. Dave Roberts had just come in to pinch hit, and pinch run, I should say. As Moss is hustling, and he'll beat it out. And that'll be another error. What a shock. But, you think about these guys that now are in coaching. Bill Miller is one. Dave Roberts is now managing with the Dodgers. It'll be interesting to see Barry Bonds and can he transition and relate to guys that are 220 hitters when he's a 7-time MVP.
I just think sometimes the thought process is different. I see that with like a guy like Brett Hull. I talk to Brett Hull all the time, and his vision is so intense, and he sees so much more than the average player sees. It's hard to say. What do you mean you can't see that? Like when I'm talking to Randall Gritchett the other day, and I'm telling him that I'm watching the signs when I'm standing in center field, and he looked at me like I was crazy. Now, how do I explain that to someone who hasn't ever been used to doing that? Like, I have to take him out there, and I have to say, you have to try. It's not a conversation that we can have up here in the booth or at dinner. You almost have to go down there on the field and walk people through it.
It's Charlie Tilson, your pinch runner, and he picks up another stolen base. That's number 4 for Tilson this spring. Did you work with Charlie much?
Charlie's one of those guys they are really high on. His speed, his base stealing ability. He's one of those guys I was told in the minor leagues that didn't realize what he's got. He's got the potential to run. They basically told him a year ago, hey, go ahead and run. I think he had 14 stolen bases 2 years ago. Last year he had over 40. So he's one of those guys that he's going to go out here and try to make a name for himself with running right away, doing what they ask, and then everything else will fall in place. But he's definitely one of those guys that's on the horizon of being a big time player.
Let's see if they turn Jed Jerko loose. 3 balls, no strikes. He's reached on an error and grounded into a fielder's choice. I was talking with Willie McGee the other day exactly about that with Tilson. He said, I really feel, Dan, he just didn't understand how good he could be. And part of this is that he's got the physical makeup, but we as instructors or coaches are trying to convince him you are a major league player. This is why you're here. This is why you've been added to the 40-man.
And that's all about the process. But, the mentality of understanding. I think for a long time as a player growing up, you've been able to just go out there and play a game of baseball like it's in your backyard. But when everyone is as good as you have to start thinking, you have to start paying attention, you have to start cheating a little bit, you have to start cheating by them, and you got to learn how to get better jumps and read pitchers and do everything ahead of everyone else.
3-2, fouled back.
You just can't stand out there and react, because everyone can do that.
See, I always felt when I was watching you that the game came easy. That, you know, you were such a great physical talent that the game was almost easy at this level. And you don't realize the work that you do put in.
I think everything that I did pitch to pitch maybe made the presumption that it's easy, but you know, there's a lot going on in every play that I'm just trying to put myself in the right spot.
Nice catch made in right by Bohr, and Tilson will tag up from second to third.
Great play in the wind right there. But you know what I mean? It's just you have to put yourself in the right position to make the game appear easier. As you see him going into the corner right here, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a routine fly ball that you have to run to. There's things that you have to do to put yourself in position. When you're running after a ball, your body is bouncing, so you have to learn how to run to keep your head from bobbing up and down, to settle the ball down. Where you see so many guys running after a ball, and you're like, why did he drop that? Well, if your eyes are bouncing and you can't run smoothly, the ball bounces, it's impossible to catch. There's just so many little things that go into becoming a good player over time that you have to learn.
Here's Tommy Pham with one out.
Goes back to what I said before as a hitter. Being a good hitter turns into knowing when to take pitches more than it becomes how to be a guy that goes up there and gets hits. You got to know how to take a nasty pitch. You got to know how to take a sinker that's borderline to get yourself in a position to get a fastball to hit.
Here's an 0-1, runner at third, one out. Good opportunity here for the Cardinals and Pham. He has an infield hit here today. Also flied out to center. And yes, while the games, they don't mean anything, wins or losses, it's situations like this you want to see Tommy Pham come through in.
You'd love to see him just hit a fly ball to drive in a run, and that's a win-win for everyone.
The 1-1. On a hop to second base, that should score the run, and it will.
Or a ground ball to second base.
So the speed of Charlie Tilson comes into play with a stolen base, then tagging up on that fly ball to right, and scores on an infield ground out. And now there's 2 outs, and it's 5-3. And Don Mattingly will go to his pen. And we'll step aside. We'll tell you about the change when we come back. It's 5-3, Marlins leading St. Louis. By Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. By Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Bomarito, where Price sells cars. So here's one of the guys. He doesn't have a name on the back of his jersey, but they'll give him one. Give him a look. Right-hander Craig Stem.
It's good research right there.
Found his number. So Craig Stem is into the game to face Anthony Garcia. 2 balls and 1 strike. Marlins have a huge blow to their bullpen. Carter Capps is out for the year. He'll have Tommy John surgery. They were talking about him possibly being their closer this year.
I mean, it seems like every year you hear something like that. It's amazing to come into camp thinking everyone's healthy, especially with an arm. You know, part of being part of being a professional is you come in here and you might not feel great, but trying to get your work in, and you just never know what's going on inside that body. But that's a huge blow. You don't want to see that for anyone.
Talking with John Mozeliak, he said year to year, for any general manager, trying to retool a bullpen is the hardest thing because of what you mentioned. That, you know, sometimes a guy has a lights out year. The next year he's not even close to what he did the previous season. The consistency factor with bullpen guys is just not there year to year.
Yeah, I like you said, I think that's the most touchy situation, is the bullpen is so iffy as far as the way guys can feel from year to year. Is get a lot of work, don't get a lot of work, have proper rest one year, be overused one year.
Here's a grounder that's hit to third, and Garcia is the third out. Cardinals pick up a run. It's 5-3 Marlins from Roger Dean. It again on Friday, Braves and Cardinals. Our Budweiser What's on Tap. Our first look at the Atlanta Braves, a retooled organization. A lot of new faces for them. But we'll see the Braves Friday at noon right here on Fox Sports Midwest. And that's our Budweiser What's on Tap. Jimmy Edmonds will be with us, the Cardinals Hall of Famer. Jonathan Broxton is the new pitcher for St. Louis. Brewers and Cardinals last year. Cardinals picked him up near the trade deadline. Overall, he was 4-5. And I know, Jimmy, when you saw him, he was closing for the Dodgers. He's been in the game a long time. Came up in the mid-2000s. Boy, he was a hard thrower.
100 miles an hour.
Yep.
And it came out of his hand in a hurry.
There's a ground ball to the right side. Base hit past Dean Anna. Austin Nolan with his first hit of the afternoon. That's how we start play here in the 7th. Miguel Rojas will be the hitter. I think the bullpen of the Cardinals really could be one of their strengths this year. Rosenthal at the back end of games talked about the outstanding year that he had a season ago. You've got Broxton, still a hard thrower, mid-90s. Jordan Walden bouncing back. Seth Maness. Kevin Segras. They've added O. Tyler Lyons, who's out of options, looks like he'll make it from the left side. And then you talk about depth. Sokolovich, Harris, Tuivailala, Cooney, Kiekefer.
They definitely have some depth this year. I think sometimes in that situation, being the manager, having to make decisions, has got to be the toughest part of his job. Is how do you carry so many qualified guys? You know, you have your guys, and you have guys coming up. You don't. There's always that fine line, balancing that roster, keeping who you need, not losing. I mean, like you said, you can be on the verge of losing a guy that's out of options, and it's a big decision to make.
1-0 pitch to Rojas. Hit sharply to first. Bobbled, and they'll still get the lead man. They will call him out. It's Greg Garcia at short. And one of the new rules that is happening now in Major League Baseball is that the slides to break up a double play have to go into the bag. And so you're not going to your left, your right, you're going almost right at, in this case, Greg Garcia. That little hesitation left Garcia out to dry.
Yeah, and you can see even in that slide right there, he's on the verge of getting hurt. Guys are not getting hurt because of the slides as much as they're not getting out of the way. You know, I don't think that back in the day, when in the 60s and 70s and all these days, you would see guys, I mean, that's part of the game. You run hard, you break up a double play, you try to, you know, buy an extra runner, get a run to score. Nowadays, guys just lose their train of thought or take it for granted that you're not coming in hard. And you can see right there, I mean, guys sliding into the base, he's going to pop up and break it up. And he just doesn't move.
Right.
You're risking getting your knee jammed.
That little bobble cost Garcia, too, because then he's all of a sudden, he's hung out to dry.
You still got to be on your toes. You still cannot allow a guy, or you don't want to allow a guy to slide into you. Just nothing but problems.
Xavier Scruggs pops it up. And yes, that's the Scruggs that was with the Cardinals last year, and now he's with the Miami Marlins. Good guy. Wish him nothing but the best. 2 outs, and it brings in the catcher, Adrian Nieto. Only 4 pitches for Jonathan Broxton, and he's recorded 2 outs. It seems like, too, guys like Broxton, they're all over the place in Major League Baseball. I mean, these hard throwers, guys that are mid to high 90s or 7th, 8th inning guys.
Velocities have definitely picked up over the last few years. His pitching has made a massive comeback in recent, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Jonathan, a big hunter from Augusta, Georgia.
I don't think he's 305 anymore on that weight.
He's dropped about 20, 25 pounds. 2 balls and no strikes. A 2-0. Now 3-0.
Little sights and sound of the game.
Yeah, I'm sure at this point in the day, veterans are ready to go home. Don't get hurt.
I'm going to go with most of them are home. We're in the weight room right now.
3-1. Always felt that Tony La Russa ran a very efficient camp, kept it moving for guys so that you didn't have that boredom factor set in. I think we're seeing that with David Bell and Mike Matheny, and like you talked about earlier, some of the drills to keep it interesting. It's the same spot, 3-2.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line between veteran and young player. Players that are going to help you, young player that's going to start every day. You know, giving guys time off, breaks, and personalities. Who needs more work, who needs less work? I mean, there's 40 guys out there. There's 40 different ways to handle your team. And it's a challenge. 6 weeks is a long time down here.
3-2 pitch. Runner goes with 2 outs and a grounder right side. Broxton to the bag for the out. Let's stretch on a beautiful day here at Roger Dean Stadium. 5-3 Marlins. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bomarito, where price sells cars. Wherever you may be, we hope you're enjoying Cardinals baseball this afternoon from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Along with Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Mike Helling is our producer. Bill Cochran is here. Tom Mee, Mark Winter, and our entire Fox Sports Midwest crew. That is Tim Berry, a left-hander, getting loose. So he'll pitch the bottom of the 7th. And Mike Ullman will be the first hitter. Ullman is hitless in 2 plate appearances today. Hard to believe we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the 2006 championship team this season. And the 10th year of Busch Stadium 3.
Goes by quick, doesn't it?
Oof.
My son is now 10 years old.
Is that right?
Just turned 10.
Fun team. That team got off to such a great start. Then besieged by injuries, and there's a base hit. And then got hot at the right time. And if not for Scott Spezio, a Saturday against Milwaukee with one of the biggest hits that gets overlooked, that triple that came against Francisco Cordero, who was a very good closer at that time, we might not be celebrating the 06 champions.
It's funny when you look back, or even in the moment, there's a few big plays that really define the entire season. Or like Belliard's play,
Yep.
the postseason.
Now, was that your idea to award the game balls?
I have no idea how I came up with that.
But that was your idea.
I literally just stood up to make it, played long enough to understand, and I just stood up to make everyone aware of what a great play that was and what a great situation. And I don't know if it was to say, hey, we can do this, because we've been riding that wave all year, up down, injuries, 85 wins, whatever it was, and just all of a sudden it started to click. Mike Piazza dropped the pop-up.
Yes.
And Albert goes deep the next pitch. I mean,
right.
Those little things, I was like, hey. But also I think Ronnie was such a great teammate as far as being great for the guys and just made such a humongous play. Not one of those guys that was blessed with the body of a typical athlete, and just made everything count. And it was just, I don't know why, it just came over me and I wanted to say something.
Could be 2 here. 4, 6, 3 off the bat of Dean Anna. Hey, Cardinal fans, next time you want to grab tickets and get your seats, get the StubHub app. Not only will you find seats you'll love, whenever you want, you can find the best seat for your buck when you sort by the best value. So get the StubHub app today. There's a team, too, that dealt with a lot of injuries that I think people have overlooked as time has gone on. You got David Eckstein healthy again for the postseason. He turns out to be your World Series MVP. There's a ball taken by Patrick Wisdom. Preston Wilson got hot in August, had a couple of really big home runs late. He'll be working with Fox Sports Florida this year, doing some of their games. 1 ball, 1 strike. Patrick Wisdom, who homered here earlier. And in the moment of Wainwright against Beltran with everything on the line at Shea Stadium. Literally rocking.
Yeah, it was. It just giving me goosebumps thinking about it. Just like watching even a guy like Preston Wilson from the distance over the years and just not knowing him, and what a professional he turned out to be, and what a great teammate, what a great team player. I mean, he would, what's funny is, like, you play all these years and then you play on teams that guys are just kind of all over the place. And when you get to the playoffs and you see a group of players come together, they don't care if they're 0 for 4, 1 for 4, 4 for 4. The goal is to win the game.
Ground ball to short and under the glove. Well, it has been sloppy here today.
A little bit of an in-between hop right there.
Preston told me that when you guys won the World Series, it was 20 years to the day that his dad won with the Mets in 1986.
We had talked about that.
And he said that his dad was in the stands and family, and he said it's something that, you know, it's great to win a World Series, don't get me wrong, but they're going to take a look at Patrick Wisdom, make sure he's all right. But he said just the idea that he had to celebrate, got to celebrate 20 years after his dad had won the World Series was pretty unique. And that's not good to see there. That's the trainer, Chris Conroy, looking at Patrick Wisdom.
And then Spezio, too.
Yeah.
His dad had won a World Series. You know what was great, though? The thing about that was, even though those guys were kids and even those guys weren't big parts of our team at that time, they were so vocal upon winning because of, hey, my dad did it. We can, you know, it was an interesting group, to say the least.
You had a lot of characters.
There's always one, but that year was a few.
Yeah. Spezio, yourself, Scott Rowland, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, Izzy. Here's a 1-0 pitch. I think the lesson that we learned with that team is that, you know, Walt Jocketty tried to roll the dice again with that team. Remember him bringing back certain players in 2007, which was an injury-plagued season from the get-go. Chris Carpenter got hurt that opening night against the Mets. But the point being is that you have to change the culture, kind of going back to what you're talking about, which the Cardinals have done with their team this year. And the idea is to keep it fresh, too.
Yeah, and it's hard to bounce back from the World Series. Ooh. You know, short off season. It's something you gotta. It's almost like playing an entire year. You have to learn how to play the entire year. Then you have to learn how to win. Then you have to learn how to bounce back from the previous year and the short off season, and then you got to do it all over again.
Right.
And it's not easy.
Jonathan Rodriguez at the plate. Runner at first with 2 outs. The 2-1 pitch. Now 2-2. Took something off it. Here's a 2-2. Lined into right center field. That ball will be caught. Nice play by Justin Maxwell in center field. So we played 7 from Roger Dean Stadium. Maxwell, a good play, trying to find a home here with the Miami Marlins. That'll help his resume. Marlins on top. It's 5-3. He was a workhorse a year ago. That's Kevin Segrist. Led the majors with 81 appearances. 3rd most by a Cardinals left-handed reliever. Number 1 on that list, Steve Klein at 89. Ray King at 86 one year. And then Kevin Segrist. The difference, though, Jimmy, when you look at that trio, is that this guy's a hard thrower.
Personalities.
And personalities.
Yeah, Kevin is. He's got the fastball that those guys did never have. They never could get anywhere near this. But you know, it just goes to show you. You know what you're doing.
How did you guys put up with Steve Klein? I loved him.
He kept us going. He was one of those guys that you wanted to be close but not too close to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was an interesting afternoon every day in the locker room with him.
There's a bouncer that makes it for a base hit into left. So JT Riddle will come up with a runner at first, and that's Hood. It was the lowest ERA by a Cardinals reliever in team history in 2013 when Segrist busted on the scene with a .45 ERA in 45 appearances. I mean, think about that. .45. Whew.
When he first burst on the scene, he was impressive.
Yeah.
He was throwing 97, 98 consistently.
Is that what you look for with him in terms of his success, where the velocity is?
I like to see the velocity up. Obviously, I think that for me, if you can pitch, you can pitch. But I think there's a huge difference in 92, 93 to 96. I think that the ball just gets on you that much quicker. And it's not the same between 87 and 90 as it is between 94 and 93 and 97. For some reason, especially being left-handed, you know, when you just have to make those decisions as a hitter so much quicker in that upper 90s range. And then, you know, not that every fastball can be hit, but it gives you so much more with your breaking stuff. And it's you don't have to throw that hard to be successful, obviously. But for me as a hitter, I'm thinking I need to get ready if this guy's going to throw that hard. And it definitely it brings more challenges to a hitter than sometimes 91, 92 does. And then sometimes it's just comfort as a hitter.
You know, it's interesting, too. You see more matchups lefty-lefty now than ever in the game, with managers going to one or two lefties to get that matchup against, let's say, a Jim Edmonds. And I guess, and maybe you can explain this better than I, but when you look at it, there aren't a lot of, you know, when you're playing little league, high school, college, minor leagues, until you get to that minor league level, left-handed batters aren't facing lefties all that much. And so it's kind of a work in progress as you go along.
You know, and it's funny, too, is as growing up, you don't think about it. Even if you are facing a lefty, it's not a big deal. I did really well against lefties all the way up to maybe the last couple years. And I think sometimes you either lose your concentration or it gets more specialized where, you know, and the lefties, I think, are getting better. I think back in the day, lefties were fastball, four-seam, curveball. I used to see lefties with sinkers and good sliders. And I don't think, for me, growing up, I ever really saw that. And I think the game is definitely changing. It's evolving. But everybody's getting better. And it makes it a lot tougher on a hitter.
Sharif Othman is the hitter. 2 runners on, nobody out. 1-0 pitch. That's the pitch right there that Segrist is trying to get much better at. He's working at it here in spring training, but that's his breaking ball. Obviously, the bread and butter is that mid-90s fastball, but if he can offset that with a good curveball, watch out. You having any fun, Jimmy?
I think it's really interesting. I love watching the game now. I love watching it from this angle, and I enjoy working with these kids, and I enjoy trying to dissect and figure out how to make these guys better. And it's, you know, I'm towing the fine line, I think, for the first time, and being someone who can be up here and do this job, which I like, and still be able to go down there and help. And that's one of my biggest fears and worries, is people don't understand sometimes what we're trying to accomplish up here, and then people don't understand what we're trying to accomplish down there. And to try to do both is I'm concerned and excited about trying to do it.
Well, good first game so far.
That was a good play.
Dean Anna.
And this is a good, this is great. I think there's something to talk about. There's something to explain. I think you can always, you know, learning this game was a process that I did every day, and it never stopped. And I think, like, we talk about Grichuk, obviously the comparisons of being in center field so easy, but I had to learn how to play first base. I sat in on meetings, you know, with the pitchers and the catchers. I spent a lot of time with the David Ecksteins and Edgar Renterias and the second basemen, and Scott Rowland obviously was one of my better friends. So I got every angle of the game.
And Dino grounds it to third, and that's the 4th double play turned by St. Louis this afternoon. Jim Edmonds, the Cardinals Hall of Famer, making his debut with us this afternoon. Wiser player of the game, that's Patrick Wisdom, and we hope he's okay. Had a 2-run homer earlier this afternoon and then limped off the field. This is back in the 5th inning. A no-doubter, the Cardinals' 2nd home run this spring, and Wisdom with a 2-run shot, and that got the Cardinals on the board. He's your Budweiser player of the game. Well, the Cardinals had Wisdom having to leave the game because of some type of injury, and then Garcia, Greg Garcia, who you would think would be on the bench this year for the Cardinals, looked like he had a sore knee as he was slid into. I mean, that's the biggest concern for guys like David Bell and Mike Matheny. I mean, you just want to come out of these games, get their work in, and don't get hurt, period.
I think that's the question that it gets old. And I'm sure if you're in the locker room every day or you're the manager, is how's it going today? Is everyone healthy?
Right.
And it's just like, how's everything going, you know? You definitely got to just try to get through the games. You got to get guys in shape, and you got to keep them on the field and keep them healthy. And the whole reason why when you're watching the game on TV is you see one guy one day and then another guy the next is you just can't run them out there every day this early in the season. Legs aren't ready to go, get fatigued, and that's how you get hurt.
There's Hazel Baker. Did you have a chance to work with him?
Yes, I did. Good young man. Got a lot of tools. Can run. He's athletic.
Tall, lanky.
Tall, lanky. He's got a little bit of pop. It's weird. I showed up one day and I think we had 8 outfielders. And I thought that was a small group. And there was Matt Holliday standing out there by himself. And I thought to myself, where's everyone at?
Right.
And I just, just not really paying attention to what was going on in camp. And the first day, standing out there, and I'm thinking, this is like new territory for me. You got a whole audience now. That's what I was saying before. You come in and work with a bunch of veterans, and you don't have a whole lot to give. And I found myself standing out there looking at all young players with wide-eyed and ready to go.
You know what's interesting, too, is I've talked to guys that have been in your position that are asked to come back and be a part of camp, get in uniform again, and they are just so cautious about what they want to say and how they say it. There's a fly ball out to left. That ball carried, and the catch is made because they don't want to step on the toes of those that are going to do this for the next 6 months every day. So it is a fine line that you guys walk.
Well, I love this coaching staff is because they come to you and ask you, your opinion and get involved. And Mike is great about that. I think when you have some older managers or coaching staffs that have egos and they want to run it their way, and trust me, Mike's running the ship the way he wants to run it, but he is definitely allowing everyone to be involved and to help out. His knowledge is the most important thing in this game at this level. and you can't have enough of it.
Carson Kelly is robbed again by Maxwell. It looks like he may have dropped that ball. He did, so Kelly is aboard. Nearly his second great catch of the afternoon.
It's the worst thing that can happen to an outfielder. Run all that way, dive, and the ball come out of your glove.
I'll give you one worse. Dive and it goes by you.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I think you make that effort, and then to actually have the ball in your glove and then drop it. It was like my biggest fear is the ball squirting out after you've tried to make a great play. I would reach in there with my other hand as fast as I could to make sure that I wasn't going to go through all that effort.
I noticed with you, and this is Greg Garcia, so good to see that Greg is healthy enough to stay in the game. But you would, when you'd make your diving catches, and you made plenty of them, but that offhand, your throwing hand would come on the glove, where a lot of guys don't do that.
I just didn't want the ball. It happened a few times when I was young, and I did not want that ball to squirt out.
Garcia hits a fair ball out at second, and this will turn into a double play. 5-3 Marlins. We head to the ninth. Shelter Insurance for your auto, home, and life. Visit your local agent or find us on the web at shelterinsurance.com. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by Bud Light. Raise one to right now. Sloppy game, to say the least. Beautiful afternoon. Fans could care less. They're in the sunshine. Out of the cold in the Midwest, it's 5-3 in favor of the Marlins, and here is Maxwell. Corey Littrell is the new pitcher. He came over in the John Lackey deal from the Boston Red Sox. I wonder if the Cardinals would have done anything differently with their offseason if they knew right away, and maybe they did, that Lance Lynn would have been unavailable. You know, do you bring back a John Lackey after a career year, or do they think that maybe they had seen the best of him? As Maxwell singles.
It definitely is a gamble.
Yeah.
You know, you're definitely gambling every year on what you have and what you had. And you know, I think that, you know, you have to make that choice as a general manager. And sometimes it works, and sometimes, I mean, it's always going to work because you're stuck with what you got. But I think down deep, if I was the general manager, I would hope that he wouldn't go somewhere else and have a career year again the next year. So you're rolling the dice. He's got plenty of talent here, which is great. I mean, plenty of talent. So you take what you got and you go with it. And I think that they got plenty of talent for this year.
Austin Nola looks at a strike. And I go back to what you were talking about with Mike Leake, who made the start today. And if you're just joining us, went 2 innings. With this team, with this defense, bigger ballpark, you're looking for innings, and that's what he can provide.
And you're looking for guys that just keep you in the game, and you're looking for a guy who's going to go out there and throw 7 innings, keep you, 3 runs and under, 4 runs and under, 3 runs. You want a guy of 3 ERA, and just let your team have a chance to win each game. And if you have a good offense and a good team, which they have, that's what you need. You don't need somebody out there with a 1 ERA. And you have guys that go out there and they're shutdown guys, and you have guys that go out there that are in the middle, and the guys that are eating up innings. And I think Mike Leake is a little bit of all of that. But what you like is, you're in the game when he's out there on the mound, and he's efficient and he throws strikes.
1-2 the count. Austin Nola at the plate.
Might have had a little too tight a view there,
Cardinals and Marlins share this facility. That will change next year in terms of schedule and how much they're going to face each other. A couple of new teams to this area are coming. Well, not pretty, but he does the job. Moves the runner to third, so Nola is retired. Next year, they're building these complexes right now. Washington and Houston will be in this area. I would think from a player's perspective, they welcome that. You don't want to face the Marlins for half a spring.
It gets old after a while.
Yeah.
It definitely does. The only saving grace is that there's a lot of guys on the rosters and they're moving around. But yeah, spring training, it's hard to get excited about a 1.5 hour bus ride at 7 o'clock in the morning, a 3-hour bus ride, and it's hard to get excited about playing the same old team all the time. But it's never hard to get excited to get up for playing at home. I'll tell you that much.
Nice play. Greg Garcia with the infield in, takes a hit away from Miguel Rojas and takes an RBI away as well. Cardinals are trying to find out if Greg Garcia can play short, and especially now more than ever with the loss of Peralta.
Makes a great play here. It's a quick reaction. He does a good job. It's one of those things too. Being a role player and being a starter, there's a difference, and you got to learn how to pace yourself and yet get everything out of each day for the entire season.
So 2 outs, and Xavier Scruggs has his second plate appearance of the afternoon.
So we hear that a lot about pitchers. Guy like you see Waka come up out of college, and everybody talks about, can he pitch 200 innings, or can he do this, or can he do that? We don't talk a lot about that at the big league level with position players, because they've had to prove that already in the minor leagues, and most of those guys have been there for a few years. Playing 140 games.
Pops it up, and it is out of play in the Cardinals dugout.
I feel like somebody's trying to prove something. And there's always a stat for why is this guy trying to prove, can he play? He played 140 games, but can he do it at the big leagues? Well, he's played as a role player. Now can he be a starter? The pitcher just came out of college. And there's always something to prove, and there's always people trying to put you down.
1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs and a runner at third for Xavier Scruggs. He was up and down with the Cardinals a year ago. We have seen power from him in the minor leagues.
I like it. Corey's pitching in, being aggressive. Good short-armed fastballs, getting in on guys.
2 balls, 1 strike. A changeup taken in the dirt. That is the beauty about being a fan of the Cardinals, is that every year, like we talked about, basically since 1996, the team has been in it or had something interesting to follow, like McGuire.
Yeah, or fun to watch. You're right.
3-1, a chance for Scruggs to go hack in here at a pitch. Nowhere close, and it's a walk.
Come on. Hey.
So you've been down here for a while. Just give me your general impression of 1, camp, and 2, how good this 25-man roster could be.
I really like the work ethic, and I really like the humbleness of a lot of the guys. It's interesting to hear in the mornings, the meetings, the guys speak up and talk, something I've never been a part of as a player. speaking, like guys speaking to the group and not just somebody having a rah or yell. It's more of a, and I keep saying this word, knowledge. Guys, you know, giving their opinions of how to keep themselves in shape and how to grind out at bats and grind out a season. And it's a lot of just kind of bringing the team together, and it's been a good group. I mean, a lot of young guys, I keep saying that, but a lot of guys willing to learn. And you know what I really like is the veterans are willing to help, and that's the way it should be. Guys are battling each other for jobs, and they're also picking each other up.
Adrian Nieto looks at a strike, 0-2.
And that's what being a team is all about. You have to kind of, it's hard to put separate yourself from the guy you're trying to battle against. You know, you go through the minor leagues and you almost wish that the guy would get hurt and get out of your way. You know, you're trying to do anything to get to the big leagues, and when you get to the big leagues, it's all of a sudden like one group and you're pulling for each other.
It's a good play there to keep that in front.
Not that you want anybody to get hurt, but you know,
sure.
You get the gist of what I'm saying is you have to be somewhat selfish in a way to get here, and then there's so much about being a team once you're here. It just changes your mindset. It's right there with a great block. Part of the catching core, something they work on every day at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yachty's down there in the cage with these kids, and Mike's out there just learning how to do stuff like simple like that.
1-2 pitch. That's Rosario, the catcher. Cardinals have talked about his defense. They really like it. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 on, and a 2-run lead for Miami. Ooh, just missed. Runner from first is off with this pitch. Check that, 2-2. On the board it says 2-2, but I thought it was 3-2.
I think he was saying it's 3-2.
He is running on the pitch. It's swung on and missed. And Littrell has himself a scoreless top of the 9th. 5-3 final hope for the Cardinals when we come back. Score is 5-3 as we move to the bottom of the 9th. It'll be here very, very soon. Opening day. Cardinals and Pirates. We'll have it for you on Fox Sports Midwest. You'd have to think that Adam Wainwright would be your opening day starter. We'll have a 2-hour pregame show starting at 10 a.m. noon with the coverage of the game. Cardinals and Pirates on Fox Sports Midwest. We look at it on paper, it seems to be a 3-team race going into the season. No particular order. St. Louis, Chicago, and Pittsburgh. Those 3 could be a real good race.
It seems to be one of those years where everyone's just expecting those 3 teams to just do what they did the year before. It's amazing what happens, though. You throw a bunch of guys out there and one team always plays well, one team not so much, and you'll get a team that overachieves. So I think that's the most fun thing about going into spring training is just seeing how it pans out. You know, everyone always asks, how are the Cardinals going to be this year? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do you know how they're going to be this year?
Jimmy, you're an analyst. You're supposed to know everything.
How are they going to play? I can't look 6 months into the future, but I know that they're going to be competitive, and I hope they stay healthy. And I you know, obviously there's no crystal ball, but it'll be fun to watch this year. I think it'll be fun for the fans.
Pirates finished 2 back of the Cardinals last year. This is Jarlin Garcia, the pitcher. David Washington is your hitter. So much of it rides on just being healthy. When the Cardinals have already suffered a major injury with Peralta. But last year, you know, you said that. If you would have said before the season that you're going to miss Adam Wainwright, Matt Adams, Holiday, Molina, I mean, you would have said, well, there's no chance. And they wound up winning 100 games.
It's the most unbelievable feat, I think.
Yeah.
If you look back and see what they did last year, it's incredible.
That's why I think you have to give Mike an awful lot of credit for keeping things in order. You hear about it, it's cliche but true, the next man up mentality.
That's why I think if you get to the thing I get is I get the insight. I love about Mo.
There's a ground ball to second, and Washington is the first out here in the bottom of the ninth.
You never hear your general manager doesn't panic, your manager doesn't panic. It just gives you that sense of, okay, we'll be all right. And every time I talk to Mo, everything is fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's Wainwright or Yachty. He's expecting injuries eventually. Hopefully no. But how is he gonna act when something happens? And he's always so calm and so cool and so just right there with it. And he's like, we're just gonna do it, you know, we're just gonna go with the next guy and figure something out.
Yep.
And those guys respond.
You know, Mo was in the booth with us the other day when the injury was reported. Here's Anthony Garcia, and off air, I said, man, tough blow. And he said, just like you said, he said, well, made our job a little tougher, but we'll be all right.
Yep.
And I do think that resonates with the players. There's not a panic that sets in.
And that's truly how you have to be. And you have to be like that when you're playing, to be able to run a team.
That's hammered down the left field line, but foul.
This kid looks good. He's been doing a great job for spring training in short term.
Do you work with him as well?
He's out there, you know, he's out there working hard. He's listening. He's doing everything that's asked, and he's throwing some good at-bats together. And when you're in the box, you're on your own.
Yep.
You know, nobody can hit for you.
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Anthony Garcia.
I can tell you he's opening some eyes already.
He's gotten a lot of playing time, and that's usually the indication with some of these younger players of what the staff and the organization thinks of you. If you continue to look at spring training and Garcia's getting at bats, they want that extended look at him.
Well, that's a good thing about being the young player. Usually does get more at bats because the starters are going to have some days off, and they're not, when they don't feel good, they're going to opt out. Where these guys don't get to opt out. You know, these guys don't get to, unless something's really wrong. You know, they got to, you know, you got to go out there and play and prove yourself.
3-2 pitch hit down the left field line. That ball is fair. One hops off the wall and now over the wall. So ground rule double for Garcia. Ball just jumping off his bat.
Yeah, he's got some pop. You can see that ball. I mean, that's not an accident. The ball jumping off his bat like that. You can hear it.
Aledmys Diaz will be the pinch hitter, who was 4 for 4 yesterday. Trying to make his presence known to be potentially the fill-in for Johnny Peralta.
Just another guy with an opportunity.
Yeah.
Make the best out of it. You never know what's going to happen.
One point he was left off the 40-man roster. No team picked him up. And then it just seemed to kind of shake him up. He even said that. And all of a sudden his game picked up incredibly, in particular at the plate. Now he's made a couple of really good plays defensively at short, at third, shown off a good arm, good range. I think the question will be, can he carry over what he's done in the Arizona Fall League and last year to wrap up the season at Memphis? Can that carry over to this season? One out, runner at second base. Diaz takes a strike.
It's just experience. You know, you learn on the job, and you learn and you learn and you learn, and then one day it clicks. You know, you can be told so many things, but until you feel it, you're not going to get it. And all of a sudden it clicks, and some guys really take off after that. And some guys taking it personal when you get left off the roster.
I think that's the mindset that he had. And again, time is called. Looks like the catcher may have been a little crossed up. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. You'll see this in the regular season. The umpires, and again, an effort by Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, to try to speed up the game, that these visits will be timed. If a manager comes out and visits with the pitcher, that is timed. A strike, 1-2.
Little shot clock, as you say out there in the outfield today, in between innings. Waiting for it to start being a little shorter with the visits, and shot clock for that too.
Ground ball that's hit to short, and Diaz is out. Picked it first. Well, maybe you're just getting home after a long days of work, and get you caught up on a couple of the storylines here today. The main one, at least in my mind, Yadier Molina actually had a play at the plate, very similar to how he injured his thumb last year and was fine, thank goodness. And the other story was Mike Leake, who pitched very well.
Yeah, getting Yadi back's huge. He looks so comfortable behind the plate. They'd probably tell you that he was or wasn't, but that's the beauty about this game, is you can't really tell what's going on inside guys' mind. And then Mike Leake went out there and had a good outing. I mean, moved the ball around and did a good job.
There's Eric Fryer, a catcher, and known for his defense. Actually grew up idolizing Mike Matheny. He is from Reynoldsburg, Ohio, which is where Mike is from. And when the city gave a key to Mike, a key to the city a couple years ago, Eric Fryer had the chance to meet with Mike. Those two had the chance to talk. He does have a little big league experience with Minnesota, but they really like what he does defensively, and more than likely will start this year at AAA. 0-2 the count with 2 outs. That's it out of play. So the Cardinals down to their final strike. Breaking ball and a call, third strike, and that's how the game comes to an end. A strikeout of Eric Fryer. Well, welcome to the broadcast booth. A lot of fun today.
I had a lot of fun. This is it's a lot of fun. I mean, I get a chance to get up here with you and watch some good baseball, even though it was a little sloppy.
Just a little.
Got Yadi back and Leak, like you said, and a loss, but I think it's a game where everybody got out there and got some work in. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we lose track of what we're here for, and that's to get these guys are getting work in and getting closer to opening day every day.
So a loss for the Cardinals, 5-3. But we introduced Jim Edmonds to you in the broadcast booth. We're going to have a lot of fun this year. We'll be back to wrap things up in just a moment. 5-3 the final.